HR Universe, and welcome to HR TV. You are now watching Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen, the talk show that spotlights HR professionals and talks about all things HR. Today, we will continue our series on Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen called Careers That Rock. Oftentimes, HR professionals are instrumental in helping people find sustainable careers and finding their niche in the world of work. This series highlights amazing professionals and provides insight to those who may be interested in pursuing a career that rocks for them. I am delighted to introduce the third guest of the Careers That Rock series. She is none other than Reverend Dr. Gina Stewart, Senior Pastor of Christ Missionary Baptist Church in Memphis, Tennessee. And the career we are highlighting today is Senior Pastor. So glad to have you today, Pastor Stewart.
Thank you, Dr. Deneen. It's always a blessing and a privilege to share with you. Thanks for the invitation to come back.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. Always glad to have you.
Thank you.
So let's jump right in. So today we're talking about the role of senior pastor as a profession. So you've been a full-time pastor for 28 years.
That's correct.
Same church.
Right.
My husband, Reverend Dr. Chuck Lester, currently serves as the executive pastor under your leadership. You've been his senior pastor for 28 years.
Right.
You've been my senior pastor for 22 years.
Wow.
So we know.
Time really flies.
Yes, we know it's a calling.
Yes.
But explain to us why it is a career as well.
Okay. Well, again, let me thank you for the invitation to share. And let me just say that I, first of all, unequivocally affirm that ministry is a calling.
Yes.
I would also say that it is a call to work with God on God's agenda in ways that have eternal significance.
Yes.
I often say that I did not voluntarily enlist into the ministry. I was drafted.
Right. Yes.
I was actually pursuing a career in higher education. I'd worked as a director of admissions for a computer school on the for-profit side.
Yes.
And then after moving to the nonprofit side, shortly after that, I was called into ministry.
Yes.
I did not intend to work in ministry full time.
Okay.
I thought I would do the work of an evangelist, do revivals, do women days, youth days, etc., and help serve my pastor.
Yes.
But as fate would have it, and as life would have it, my pastor had a massive heart attack. And shortly after, I was called into ministry and felt that God was making this claim on my life, because that's what I believe a call to ministry is when God makes a claim on our life to work with God on God's agenda, but also to reach and disciple people.
Yes.
I knew that God had made a claim on my life, but I did not see that as being the way that I would pay my bills, if you will.
Okay.
But my senior pastor, Reverend Dr. Carey, died shortly after I had worked in higher ed for about 5 years. And I was called to serve Christ Missionary as the senior pastor. The church wanted a full-time pastor.
Yes.
And so it was at that moment when I transitioned from Shelby State, which is where I was working at the time, to become the senior pastor of Christ Missionary, or at that time pastor, because we did not have ministry staff, to become the pastor of Christ Missionary. That ministry became not only my calling, but my vocation.
Yes.
My job, my career, because it is the work that I love to do.
Yes.
But it's also the work I get paid to do.
Right.
Because it is a job. People really don't think that ministry is a real job. So often we talk to people, you encounter people in the course of your interactions with individuals, and they really don't think that ministry is a full-time job. Yes. But it is a full-time job. In fact, you're on call, really, almost 24 hours a day. So when there are people that would agree with me. Yes. There are people that don't see ministry or pastoring as a career. Yeah. But it is an occupation. It is just a religious occupation. Yes. And for 28 years, I have done this full time, and I want to say, take a point of privilege and just say, I thank God for a congregation that values full-time ministry.
That's right.
Because there are a lot of people that have to be bivocational.
Yes.
And that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work to care for a congregation and work a full-time job.
Absolutely.
So I thank the members of Christ Missionary Baptist Church for making it possible, not only for this to be my vocation.
Yes.
And my occupation,
yes.
but also, as you say, I have an executive pastor, your husband, Dr. Chuck Lester,
yes.
who is also full-time employed by our church.
Yes.
So we have a call on our life,
yes.
but ministry is also our career.
Yeah. So it's a call, but it's also a career.
Career, yes.
And it's one that is much needed. And I don't know what we would do without that particular call or profession. So you talked about it's an on-call vocation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's continuous. It never stops. So talk about it. So as a full-time pastor, how many hours do you put in per week? And what do those hours consist of?
The short answer to that is I stopped counting. Because
yes.
At a minimum,
yes,
it's 50 hours at a minimum.
Uh-huh.
And I say that because sermon preparation alone can be 20 to 40 hours a week.
20 to 40 hours a week. Wow,
says,
sermon preparation. One sermon.
Yeah, for one sermon.
Yes.
Someone says that a preacher should devote at least 1 minute to 1 hour to every minute of sermon preparation.
Wow, and how
I
long
preach 30 to 40 minutes.
So you do the math, right?
You do the math, right. So sermon preparation, pastoral visitation, administrative tasks, putting out fires,
yes.
Unexpected emergencies, funerals, weddings,
yes.
civic responsibilities. It is difficult to encapsulate the number of hours that a pastor actually works.
Yes.
Some of my staff often say, all we know is when we go to bed, you up, and when we wake up, you up. Because I'm continuously, and that's not to say that I'm a workaholic. I do believe in taking time for rest,
yes.
and Sabbath, but ministry is a full-time job, and technically you're on call,
yes.
at all times, 24 hours a day. Now, you may not always get a call,
yeah.
but you live your life in a posture of being available. Yes. I say to our ministers, our associate ministers, that a call to ministry is a call to sacrifice.
Yes.
It's a call to commitment, because when you give God your yes, you're also giving God your yes to the people that you are called to serve.
Yes.
And so because I'm full-time, I appreciate the fact that I can be available when members need me.
Yes.
But it also means that I have other responsibilities, leadership development, training.
Yes.
And then of course I have an itinerant ministry as well. So it's my life. I mean, it's difficult to encapsulate. It's probably more like 80 hours a week. Or more, or 100 hours a week. But that fluctuates and it varies depending on what is going on in the course of a week. But on an average, I would say somewhere from 50 to 80 hours. If 30 hours are devoted to sermon preparation,
yes.
as you said, do the math.
Right. So I guess my next question is, when do you sleep? But we know that it is a calling. We know that it's continuous work. It's on call. It's not a water faucet, turn it off 9 to 5 and I'm gonna pick it back up in the morning, right?
That's exactly
it's continuous.
Right. Yes.
It is on call. So on call ministry. We're talking about senior pastors as a career today, and we're learning so much today about that. So you are the senior pastor of Christ Missionary Baptist Church, but you're also active in other leadership roles and ministry-based roles, right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about those.
Yes, I serve on a number of boards. Number one, I serve on the board of the national board of the NAACP. I also chair the Religious Affairs Committee, and a shameless plug to say, if you have not renewed your membership with the NAACP, you need to do that because the NAACP is a 14th Amendment organization that has capacity and that's really committed, has over a 100-year history of doing the work of social justice.
Yes.
So I enjoy doing that. I also serve as a co-convener for the Women in Ministry Conference that is The convener is Dr. Cynthia Hale.
Yes.
And it is a conference that is designed to minister specifically to the needs of women in ministry. We have a conference every year.
Okay.
It will meet the last week in September of this year,
Okay.
Monday through Thursday. I also serve as a trustee for the Samuel DeWitt Proctor
Yes.
Pastors Conference, which is another conference that's committed to building capacity for congregational leadership and take seriously the call to social justice and being repairers of the breach.
Yes.
I serve with the Black Clergy Collaborative
All right.
in Memphis, Dr. Jason Turner. It is another economic and social justice entity that's working to address some of the challenges in our city. And then one of the things I'm most excited about is that I've had the opportunity, I'm in my second year in my tenure as president of Lott Carey Foreign Mission Convention.
Yes.
And Lott Carey is a convention that I've worked with. I started working with Lott Carey over 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Okay.
Simply because my heart was captured by the work that they do. They're a global missions agency that is touching the lives and transforming lives around the world.
Yes.
We do work with HIV and AIDS. We do substance abuse, technical support, women's empowerment.
Yes.
And all of those. We have schools, and Lott Carey is an organization that does not, in the traditional sense, excuse me, of sending missionaries. We don't send missionaries in the traditional sense.
Okay.
We come alongside our international partners, and we work with them to help them build capacity in the work that they're already doing. Because they already have vision, they already have ideas, they already have passion. What they need is support.
Is what they need.
Right. And so Lott Carey sends an allotment each month.
Okay.
Every month, we send an allotment to about 11 or 12 of our international partners that we have entered into memorandums of agreement with.
Yes.
And we support them in the work that they're doing.
Yes.
Just recently, we traveled to Ghana and Liberia. We have a school in Liberia that is doing tremendous work.
Wow.
And the amazing thing about the school in Liberia is that if this school were to close tomorrow, these children wouldn't have anywhere to go.
Wow.
They would not have anywhere to go. Over 300 children attend this school. And Reverend Emil Sampil, who is the director, principal, is doing a tremendous work with those young people. That's just one example of the work that Lott Carey is doing around the world.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And so here's that burning question again. When does she sleep? Yeah, here it is. Yes. But I want to talk a little bit more about Lott Carey. You said you were the first female.
First female
president of Lott Carey.
Yes.
This is a tremendous accomplishment. And from what she says, they are doing true ministry.
We're doing real ministry.
Throughout the world, meeting the needs of the people that need the most. So they're doing that. So how would someone partner with Lott Carey? I know that there's a convention that's going to be taking place soon,
Thank
right?
you for asking that question. Every year we host an annual convention. You and Dr. Chuck came last year.
Yes.
And the purpose of the convention is to inspire the attendees to invest in missions around the world. We have transformative worship. We have missions education classes. We also have service opportunities for people to be involved in missions. You get to hear testimony from our international partners to find out how much Lott Carey's investment has meant to them. The convention this year will be in North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina, August 14th through the 17th.
Yes.
And one of the ways, if people are interested in investing in Lott Carey, is just go to the website, www.lottcarey.org. Our primary investors are churches. We have a network of probably more than 1,500 to 2,000 churches who monthly give, or they give quarterly, or they give annually to support the work of Lott Carey. But I'm really excited because since I've been president, people have been inquiring as individuals.
Wow.
About how they can support the work of Lott Carey.
And so an individual can do it as well as a church.
Support Lott Carey. We just rolled out a program in March at our spring convention called I Am Lott Carey.
Okay.
And I Am Lott Carey provides options, categories, if you will, for persons who want to invest in the work of Lott Carey, even because there are people that are not pastors. They go to different churches, but they want to do something on their own to support Lott Carey.
Okay.
And so the I Am Lott Carey makes it possible for individuals like you and Dr. Chuck invest, I think, on a monthly basis. So, you know, if you're part of our church, but you also want to invest in Lott Carey.
Yes.
This makes it possible for individuals to give to Lott Carey, direct their gift toward a specific project. For example, if you want to help Haiti, you can direct your funds toward Haiti, or if you want to help South Africa, the school in Liberia, you can do that. But the I Am Lott Carey provides a means for individuals to invest in our work. So you can do it corporately as a congregation. If you're a senior pastor, I invite you to join us for our convention, or to go to our website and check out the work that we're doing. You'll see that we're transforming lives around the world. If you're an individual and you really have a passion to help and want to do the work of missions, then you can be a part of the I Am Lott Carey initiative.
I Am Lott Carey, and we'll talk about this at the end of the show too, to recap that so you can get more information on that way. So as president of Lott Carey and the first female president of Lott Carey, I'm sure you have strategic goals, things that you want to do as president. You want to tell us about that?
Yes.
Is there something that's burning that you want to do?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. Lott Carey has strategic drivers.
Yes.
That give shape and cohesion to the organization. But my personal vision for Lott Carey has been to raise millions for missions.
Millions for missions.
And one of the reasons why I want to do that is because, as I said to you earlier, we have partners that we support around the world. We send them an allotment each month. But one of the things that happened during the Great Recession is that our partners took a hit. We had to reduce our investment to our partners. And we have yet to really catch back up. And we know that when America gets a cold, the world gets pneumonia. And so one of the things that I've really been just really adamant about is trying to raise our, increase our financial investment to our international partners. So I have this campaign. Millions for missions.
Millions for missions.
Millions for missions. And I'm excited because many people have supported us and invested in Lott Carey, but it's still not too late. I have 1 year and a half left.
1 year and a half.
to make this come to pass.
The
other thing, presidential priority that I have is to engage emerging generations. Because we know that just as it is true with our churches, it's true with our conventions. If we don't utilize and invite these bright young minds, these high capacity leaders to the table, not just to use them for work, but to work, not just to give work to them, but to work with them, our conventions and our churches don't have a future.
I see.
And so one of the things I'm excited about is we're about to roll out a program called Lott Carey Student Chapters on college campuses, specifically on HBCU campuses, to encourage young adults to become involved with Lott Carey.
Well, that is amazing. That is amazing. Getting the younger generation involved and engaged in ministry and missions very early. So we're talking about students and learning and those things. So we're talking about senior pastors as a career. So would you recommend as a full-time pastor, for if someone wants to be a full-time pastor, senior pastor, would you recommend any formal schooling? What would you recommend with that?
Yes, I do believe that theological education is important for anyone going into ministry. I've encouraged all of our ministers, and the majority of them, I would say probably 80 to 90% of the ministers that serve at our church are seminary trained. I think that just as a physician goes to medical school and a dentist goes to dental school, that a person that's serious about ministry should invest in theological education. Now, if you're not necessarily thinking about, you don't necessarily see yourself going into the career or vocation as a pastor or working in ministry full time, then pursuing a degree may not necessarily be what you want to do. Because of the financial investment. I can tell you what I did. I decided that when I was called into the ministry that I needed the tools.
Yes.
And so even though I didn't anticipate that I would be pastoring, I went to seminary with the intention of getting a master's of divinity. Of course, education has become very expensive for people, and people don't always have the financial wherewithal to go and pursue a full-time degree. But if they can, and they're serious about working in ministry, I would say theological education is non-negotiable. If they, plan to be bivocational, then perhaps making sure that they take advantage of continuing education courses, getting some kind of classes. Some kind of theological education is essential because you are shaping the minds and the hearts of people. And you want to do it with integrity. And you want to do it where it's exegetically sound, hermeneutically appropriate, and theological education gives you and provides a person with those tools.
And it keeps a person well informed and on top of any new education, new trends, what those things are, to keep you on top of the game.
Well, and just like in our professions, there are trends that come and evolve and change. The same thing is happening in ministry. We are now in a hybrid environment. The pandemic has changed the way we do ministry. And of course, you don't get all your answers in seminary, but as I said, or divinity school or a school of theology, but you get tools, and the tools help you and sharpen you. And you get intellectual stimulation through theological education that broadens your thinking and helps you to think more broadly about God and what God wants to do with the world and how God wants to transform the world and change the world. So the short answer is yes.
People will need schooling.
Some type of theological education.
So with this career, it's tied to heart. It's tied to mission. It's tied to being that person that can maybe bring people to the ministry of what sort. So what would you say that some of the rewards are for being in ministry and some of the challenges?
It's funny that you asked this question. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about ministry, and one of the greatest rewards of ministry, let me just say at the outset, is knowing that God has used you to change somebody's life. Forever. And knowing that one day someone will stand before God and say, that pastor saved my life. There's a certain joy in watching there's no joy, in my opinion, that compares to seeing the fruit of a transformed life. But ministry is often qualitatively measured more so than quantitatively. And so if you're measuring ministry by bodies or books or buildings, cameras, cars, or cash, you might get discouraged. Because the tertiary symbols of success are not always that visible. And they're certainly not always that visible when you're a woman in ministry, because ministry is still a very male-dominated profession.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Because that is true.
It's true.
So women in ministry. Now we know that you are a trendsetter and a trailblazer in ministry, because you were the first African-American female elected as senior pastor of an established African-American church in Shelby County, Tennessee. What Baptist church? Say it again.
Baptist church.
That's
right.
What advice would you give specifically to women who have been called or would like to have a career in full-time ministry?
Well, again, as I said before, ministry chose me. I did not choose ministry. But one of the first things I would say is to be in a church that affirms you.
Yes.
as a woman in ministry.
Okay.
It's difficult to pursue a call if you're in a setting or in a congregation where the leadership does not believe that God can use women.
Yes.
Secondly, I would counsel that if a person feels that they are called to ministry, to begin to prepare themselves. And preparation is not just theological education. It's also serving in a local congregation.
Yes.
I learned about ministry because I was raised to serve in church.
Yes.
I come from a generation that didn't have options.
Yeah.
And so it was second nature to me, but it was in serving in ministry that God began to sort of clarify and ministry began to evolve as a calling and later as a career. And so it was through serving the local church that God began to work in me and I began to discover, you mentioned this at the beginning, finding your niche.
Finding your niche.
Finding what God has gifted you to do so that you can pursue that further. It may not be that ministry is all preaching.
Yes.
Vocational discernment is so important.
Yes.
But there's so much more to ministry than just preaching. The church needs administrators. The church needs Christian education people. The church needs worship leaders, worship pastors. And so discerning where God has gifted you, I believe, is also important as well.
Well, Pastor Stewart, you have let us know, and we have evidence, the receipts as the kids say, that senior pastorship or being a senior pastor is a career that rocks, and it's also a calling. Wow, we've learned so much about the career and profession of senior pastor with my guest, Reverend Dr. Gina Stewart, the first African-American female to be elected as senior pastor of an established African-American Baptist church in Shelby County, Tennessee. An amazing profession. Being informed and aware of the possibilities of careers that are available is paramount. HR professionals can be the resource to help educate and guide you to the career and profession that rocks for you. Be sure to watch a new episode of Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen, the first of every month on the YouTube channel of the same name and on Comcast Xfinity Channel 17 Monday nights from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Please note, you can watch Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen and prior episodes at any time. Go to YouTube and type in the talk show title. Be sure to subscribe, no fee, and click on the notification bell. This is HR TV. I'm Dr. Deneen, and I want to talk HR with you. HR forever. See you next time.